Hello everyone. Before I begin my story, let me ask you for a small favor. Please hit that subscribe button. Your support really helps me continue sharing these stories with you. My name is Ethan Cole, and I'm 32 years old. I never thought I'd sit down and share something so personal with the world. But what happened in my family is something that changed me forever. It started off so simple, so ordinary, and turned into a nightmare that I never saw coming. When I say it all began with a family dinner, I know it sounds almost ridiculous. How can a peaceful evening around the dining table turn into a war? But for me, that night wasn't just about food, laughter, or bonding. It became the night when my family's secrets came crashing down on me. Let me take you back to the beginning, so you can understand how everything unfolded. I grew up in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Connecticut. My parents, Richard and Helen, were hard-working people who built everything they had from scratch. My father was a lawyer, tough but fair, while my mother was a schoolteacher with a soft heart. Together, they created a home that was stable, structured, and full of values. I was the oldest of 3 siblings. My younger brother, Daniel, was 29, and my sister, Lena, was 27. On the outside, we looked like the picture-perfect family. My parents owned a beautiful house, had savings, and even some properties scattered across the state. People thought we had it all together. But the truth is, once you step inside a family, appearances mean nothing. What looks calm on the surface often hides storms underneath. Growing up, I always felt the pressure of being the eldest. I was the one expected to succeed, to be the example, to hold everything together. Daniel, on the other hand, was rebellious, always chasing shortcuts in life. He'd jump from one job to another, never really settling down, always looking for quick money. And Lena, well, she was the peacekeeper, the sweet one who tried to mend things between us whenever fights broke out. Even though there were differences, we still had a bond. Or at least, I believed we did. When my father passed away 2 years ago, things began to shift. Suddenly, the balance in our family was gone. My mother was devastated, and I took on the role of protecting her, supporting her, and helping with all the legal paperwork. My siblings, they were around, but I could feel something changing in the air, something darker. You see, my father never really spoke openly about his will. He was a private man, and while he occasionally mentioned wanting things to be fair, he never sat us down and explained what would happen after he was gone. That silence, I realize now, was the spark that lit the fire. My mother tried her best to keep us together. She would often invite us over for dinners, hoping we could laugh and heal as a family. And one evening, she invited us again, a simple Sunday dinner, nothing out of the ordinary. At least, that's what I thought. The evening started normally enough. The smell of roasted chicken filled the kitchen. Lena helped Mom set the table, while I opened a bottle of wine. Daniel, as usual, arrived late, wearing his leather jacket, and that smug grin that always rubbed me the wrong way. "Traffic," he said casually as he dropped his keys on the counter. "You wouldn't believe how bad it was." I rolled my eyes. With Daniel, there was always an excuse. But Mom didn't mind. She hugged him, kissed his cheek, and told him to wash his hands before dinner. She still treated him like a little boy, even though he was nearly 30. We all sat down around the table. For a brief moment, it almost felt like old times. The clinking of glasses, the passing of dishes, Lena's gentle laughter. It was comforting. But under the surface, tension bubbled. I could sense it, though I didn't yet know why. Halfway through the meal, Mom cleared her throat. Her hands trembled slightly as she placed her fork down. "There's something I need to talk to you all about," she said. The room went silent. Even Daniel stopped chewing. "It's about your father's will." Those words changed everything. I felt my stomach drop. For months, I'd wondered what the will contained. I had helped Dad with so many things, but he kept the details of his estate locked away. Now, finally, Mom was about to reveal it. She explained that Dad had left behind more than we expected. Not just a house and savings, but also investments and a hidden property none of us knew about. A lakeside cabin in Vermont, fully paid off, worth quite a bit of money. Daniel's eyes widened. Lena gasped softly. And me? I sat frozen, trying to process the information. Mom continued. "Your father wanted the 3 of you to share everything equally. He believed in fairness. But she hesitated, looking at me. There's something else he wrote. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Mom picked up a folded piece of paper from the side table and read aloud. If any one of my children proves unworthy of handling responsibility, the inheritance shall be transferred fully to the one I believe is most capable. The air grew thick. No one spoke for several seconds. Then Daniel slammed his hand on the table. What the hell does that mean? Unworthy? That's bullshit. Daniel. Mom scolded, but he wasn't listening. He turned his glare toward me. I bet you love this, don't you, Ethan? Dad probably meant you. You were always the golden boy, the perfect son. Of course he'd leave it all to you. His words stung, but I kept my composure. Daniel, calm down. That's not what Mom said. He wanted it to be equal. Equal. Daniel laughed bitterly. Do you really think that's what's going to happen? I know how this family works. I've been overlooked my whole life. Not this time. I'm not walking away with scraps while you two get the best. Lena reached out, her voice soft. Danny, please. This isn't the time to fight. We can figure this out together. But he pulled his hand away. His eyes were full of anger. And in that moment, I realized something. This dinner wasn't about healing. It was about drawing battle lines. The rest of the evening spiraled quickly. Daniel accused me of manipulating Dad, of being the reason he never got recognition. He said Lena was just a puppet, always siding with me. Every word he spoke was sharper than the last, fueled by years of resentment. I tried to reason with him, but he wasn't interested in reason. He wanted war. Mom cried quietly, begging us to stop, but the damage was done. The family dinner was no longer about food or togetherness. It was about greed, jealousy, and betrayal. When the night ended, Daniel stormed out of the house, swearing he would get what he deserved, no matter what it took. As I stood there, watching him drive away, I knew my life was about to change. What I didn't realize was just how far my own brother was willing to go, and how far I'd have to go to protect what was mine. That night, as I lay awake in bed, my mind replayed every word, every look. I thought about Dad's condition in the will. If any one of my children proves unworthy. What did he mean by that? Did he already see Daniel's greed coming? Did he trust me to step up when things got ugly? The more I thought about it, the more I realized this wasn't just about money or property. This was a test of character, loyalty, and strength, and I was determined not to fail. That night, sleep refused to come. My brother's words echoed in my head like a curse, each syllable cutting deeper than the last. I knew Daniel was reckless, but the venom in his eyes, the fire in his voice, it was different this time. It wasn't just another argument between brothers. It was a declaration of war. The next morning, I drove to my mother's house to check on her. She had cried herself to sleep after Daniel stormed out. When she opened the door, her eyes were red and swollen. Mom, I said softly, stepping inside. Are you all right? She forced a smile, shaking her head. I don't know what's happening to us, Ethan. Your father always wanted peace between you three. He wanted fairness. But now, she paused, her voice breaking. Now I'm afraid his words have torn you apart instead. I hugged her tightly. Don't worry, Mom. I'll handle it. But even as I said it, I wasn't sure what handle it meant. How do you fight against your own blood? How do you protect family when family itself has become the threat? The following days were eerily quiet. I didn't hear from Daniel at all, which was unusual. Normally, he'd send a barrage of angry texts after a fight. But this time, nothing. That silence gnawed at me. Lena called me one evening. Her voice trembled. Ethan, Danny came to see me. What did he say? I asked immediately. He's furious. He thinks Dad always favored you, and now he's convinced that Mom is going to hand everything to you. He said, she hesitated. What did he say, Lena? He said he won't let you win. That he'll do whatever it takes. Ethan, he looked serious. Not just angry, dangerous. I clenched my jaw, pacing the room. Stay away from him for now. If he contacts you again, tell me immediately. Do you understand? She whispered, I'm scared. You're not alone, I reassured her. I won't let him hurt you or Mom. But in the pit of my stomach, fear spread like poison. 2 nights later, I got my first taste of Daniel's plan. I returned home from work and found my front door unlocked. My chest tightened as I stepped inside. The living room was a mess. Drawers pulled open, papers scattered, personal files missing. I knew instantly who had done it. "Damn it, Daniel," I muttered under my breath. He was looking for something. Maybe Dad's will. Maybe evidence. Maybe a way to twist the truth in his favor. I called him immediately, but he didn't pick up. Instead, I received a text 10 minutes later. "Don't play dumb, Ethan. I know Dad left more than he told us. If you think you can keep it from me, you're wrong. This isn't over." My hand shook as I read the words. He had crossed a line. Breaking into my house wasn't just anger. It was desperation. Days turned into weeks, and the tension only grew. Daniel began spreading rumors to relatives, claiming I was manipulating Mom, controlling her decisions, and hiding parts of the inheritance. At family gatherings, I felt their eyes on me, judging, questioning, doubting. It was infuriating. One evening, Mom called me to her study. She handed me a sealed envelope. "Your father gave this to me before he died," she said. "He told me to give it to you when the time was right." My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a letter, written in Dad's unmistakable handwriting. "Ethan, if you are reading this, it means the time has come. I trust you to protect what I've built. I know your brother's weaknesses, and I fear they will consume him. Do not let greed destroy this family. If you must choose, choose strength. Love, Dad." Tears blur my vision. For the first time, I understood the weight my father had placed on me. He knew Daniel's flaws. He saw the storm coming long before I did. But that letter also made me a target. If Daniel ever discovered it, he would do everything in his power to destroy me. The breaking point came one Friday evening. Mom invited us all again, hoping for reconciliation. Against my better judgment, I went. Lena came too, timid but hopeful. Daniel arrived late, as usual, but this time he wasn't alone. 2 of his friends, rough-looking men with cold eyes, walked in behind him. "What are they doing here?" I demanded. "They're my witnesses," Daniel said smugly, tossing his jacket over a chair. "I'm not letting you and Mom play me anymore. Tonight, everything comes out." Mom's face turned pale. "Daniel, please, this is family business. We don't need outsiders." "Family," he laughed bitterly. "You mean favoritism. You mean lies." He slammed a stack of papers onto the table. They were forged documents, claiming Dad had promised the cabin and investments solely to him. The signatures were shaky imitations, but good enough to fool someone at first glance. My blood boiled. "You forged these, didn't you?" Daniel smirked. "Can you prove it?" I wanted to lunge across the table, tear the smug grin from his face, but Lena grabbed my arm. "Don't, Ethan. That's what he wants." His friends stood there like bodyguards, ready to escalate things if needed. I realized then that Daniel wasn't just playing dirty. He was dangerous. That night ended with shouting, tears, and threats. Daniel stormed out once again, promising to take me down, no matter the cost. I stayed behind to comfort Mom. She clung to me, whispering, "I don't recognize him anymore. That's not my son." But he was her son. He was my brother. And yet, he had become my enemy. Over the next few weeks, I started gathering evidence, anything to prove Daniel's deceit. I spoke to Dad's old lawyer, dug through bank records, and even drove to Vermont to confirm the cabin ownership. Everything pointed to one truth. My father had intended equality, but also left me the power to decide if Daniel proved himself unworthy. And Daniel was proving it, over and over. One evening, Lena came to my apartment. She looked pale, shaken. "Danny's losing control," she whispered. "He told me he'd rather see the family torn apart than let you steal his birthright. He's planning something, Ethan. Something worse than before." My stomach twisted. "What do you mean worse?" "I don't know exactly, but he mentioned making sure you were out of the way." A chill ran down my spine. This wasn't just about inheritance anymore. It was about survival. I knew I had to prepare. I installed security cameras around my house, changed my locks, and kept Dad's letter hidden in a safe deposit box at the bank. Every step I took was to shield myself from the brother who once shared my childhood. But nothing could shield me from the betrayal I felt deep inside. How do you fight against someone who shares your blood? How do you protect yourself when your enemy knows you better than anyone else? Every day became a battle of wits, anticipating Daniel's next move, staying one step ahead, protecting Mom and Lena from the chaos he unleashed. And through it all, one thought haunted me. If my father trusted me to be strong, then maybe strength meant doing the unthinkable. Before I continue, let me pause for just a moment. If you're still listening to my story, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe. It truly means the world to me, and it helps me keep sharing stories like this with you. Now, let me tell you what happened next when Daniel finally decided to cross the final line. The night Daniel decided to cross the final line began like any other, but deep inside me, I felt something was coming. The air was heavy. My instinct screamed at me to stay alert, and for the first time in my life, I realized that my own brother was not just a rival. He was a threat. It happened on a stormy evening. Rain lashed against the windows of my apartment. Thunder cracked like a warning from the heavens. I had just returned from visiting Mom. She was exhausted, worn thin by the endless battles between her sons. She begged me once more, "Ethan, please, don't let this hatred consume you. Don't let it end like this." I promised her I'd try, though even as the words left my lips, I knew the storm had already passed the point of control. Around midnight, I heard a noise outside, something sharp, metallic. My heart pounded as I checked the security cameras on my phone. And there he was, Daniel, drenched in rain, face twisted with rage, and in his hand a crowbar. I rushed to the door and locked it tight, dialing the police with trembling fingers. But before they could arrive, he slammed against the door, shouting, "You think you can take everything from me? You think Dad chose you? I'll prove you're not the strong one. I'll take it all." The pounding grew louder, with splintering, my breath shallow. I could hear his friends shouting in the background, egging him on. He wasn't alone this time. He had backup. I grabbed the baseball bat I kept by my bed. My whole body shook, not just with fear, but with fury. This was my brother, the boy I once built forts with in the backyard, the teenager I defended in school fights. And now he was trying to break into my home, ready to destroy me. The door finally gave way. Daniel stumbled inside, wild-eyed, his crowbar raised. I held my ground. "Daniel, stop." I shouted over the storm. "This isn't the way. Dad wanted us to be better than this." "Dad's dead," he spat, "and he left me nothing because of you." He lunged at me, swinging the crowbar. Instinct took over. I blocked the strike with the bat, the sound of metal against wood echoing through the apartment. The fight was primal. Two brothers locked in a brutal dance of rage and desperation. His strength was fueled by madness, but mine was fueled by something stronger, resolve. I thought of Mom's tears, of Lena's fear, of Dad's letter. This wasn't just about inheritance anymore. It was about proving I was the one Dad believed in. Finally, with a surge of adrenaline, I disarmed him, the crowbar clattering to the floor. I pinned him down, my chest heaving, rainwater and sweat dripping from both of us. "Look at yourself, Daniel," I roared. "Is this who you are? Is this what you've become?" But his eyes burned with hatred. "I'll never stop, Ethan. Not until I have it all." The police burst through the door moments later, guns drawn, shouting commands. I raised my hands immediately, stepping back. They pulled Daniel off the ground, cuffing him as he screamed obscenities at me. And just like that, it was over. The following weeks were a blur of court hearings, restraining orders, and endless paperwork. Daniel was charged with breaking and entering, assault, and forgery. The evidence stacked against him was undeniable. Even his friends, when questioned, turned on him to save themselves. For the first time, Daniel faced consequences he couldn't escape. Lena was devastated. "He's still our brother," she whispered through tears. I nodded, my heart heavy. "I know, but he chose this path." Mom was broken, caught between the love of a mother and the harsh reality of what her son had done. She visited him in jail, hoping to find some piece of the boy she once knew. But Daniel remained consumed by anger, blaming everyone but himself. When the inheritance was finally settled, the truth of Dad's will became clear. Everything was to be shared equally. House, investments, the Vermont cabin. But with Daniel legally proven unworthy, his share was stripped away, leaving only me and Lena. It felt hollow. Victory without joy. Wealth without peace. One evening, I drove to the cabin alone. The lake was calm, the air fresh, the trees whispering secrets of the past. I stood there on the porch, holding Dad's letter in my hands. Did I do the right thing? I whispered into the wind. Was this what you wanted? The silence answered me. And yet, in my heart, I knew. My father hadn't asked me to destroy my brother. He had asked me to be strong, to protect the family, to ensure that greed didn't win. In the end, I had fulfilled that promise, but at a cost I would carry forever. Months passed. Life began to steady again. Lena and I grew closer, supporting Mom through her grief. We managed the properties together, making careful decisions, honoring Dad's legacy the best we could. But scars remained. Every time I passed a family photo, every time I remembered childhood laughter, I felt the ache of loss. Not of my father, not even of the inheritance, but of my brother. Sometimes at night, I wonder if things could have been different. If I had reached out sooner, if Dad had spoken to him more, if Daniel had chosen another path. But life doesn't offer second chances for choices already made. And so I live with the truth. A simple family dinner revealed the cracks in our foundation, and those cracks widened into a chasm that swallowed my brother whole. To those of you still listening, thank you for staying with me through my story. If there's anything I've learned, it's this. Money can change people, but true character is revealed when the storm hits. Family can be your greatest strength, or your deepest wound. And as for me, I carry both. Please, if you found this story meaningful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Your support helps me continue sharing, and maybe, just maybe, it'll remind someone out there that greed never builds, it only destroys. This was my story. My name is Ethan Cole, and this was the night a simple family dinner turned into a war over hidden inheritance.